You've seen him all over the Daily Show. You've seen him on YouTube. I want y'all to put your hands together, put your hands together, put your hands together. Give it up for Josh Johnson.
My most recent obsession is this court case, this lawsuit against Cardi B. All right. If you're not familiar with Cardi B is a rapper, and she is also a national treasure. Cardi B is incredible, and this case is pretty wild. Basically, what is being alleged in this case is that Cardi B assaulted a security guard. It's alleged that Cardi B assaulted the security guard, and you hear both stories throughout the case. The security guard's story is that she was at work, securing the building. And then Cardi B walks in, and then she's like, "Oh, Cardi B." And Cardi B didn't seem to like that she was approached, that Cardi B was like, "What are you doing right now? Why are you in my face?" And that Cardi B got nasty with her very quickly. And so they were in the elevator together, and she said that she followed Cardi B out of the elevator to clear up any confusion. I don't know if it was to apologize or anything, but she admits that she did follow Cardi B into the elevator and out of the elevator. And then she said Cardi B really lost it and started cursing at her and everything, and then started swinging on her and stuff, and that she got a little nick on her cheek from Cardi B scratching her face, right? And then the receptionist and the doctor that Cardi B was there to see, because Cardi B was in the building for a doctor's appointment, that they broke up the fight, and then everybody went about their way. But because of this assault, because of this nick on her face, she is suing Cardi B for about $24 million. I'll tell you right now, for $24 million, Cardi B could cut up my whole leg, okay? If Cardi B chopped up my leg and gave it back to me in a bucket, I would be like, "You'll be hearing from my lawyer." $24 million. That's crazy. So then, Cardi B's account of things is that she was going to the doctor. At the time, she was pregnant. She didn't want anybody to know she was pregnant. She didn't tell anybody, and she didn't even tell her security guard where she was going that day, her personal security, because she was just trying to keep this whole thing private, right? And even the doctor's office had blocked out time just to make sure they didn't have other clients coming in back and forth, and Cardi B was going to be the last appointment of the day, right? So Cardi B shows up to the building, and then immediately she hears Cardi B. And so already that's not ideal, right? Like that could happen at any time. Cardi B is very famous. But then she is getting in the elevator, and then she notices the person who screamed Cardi B got in the elevator with her and has a phone in her face. And so she goes, "What are you doing? Aren't you security?" Because she had security on her hands. And then she's talking to her while she's in the elevator, and then she exits the elevator, and she says she can still feel this person behind her. So then she turns around, she's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you recording me? You gotta get out of my face. I'm trying to go to the doctor." And then that's when the person who was recording her, the security guard, got real angry and was like, "I could do what I want. It's my phone. This is my building," which is a misunderstanding of what security is. If that really was said, oof. I've never met a security guard who thought they were clocking in to own the building for a little while. But then they got into what Cardi B says was only a verbal altercation. There was the receptionist and the doctor that came into, I guess, the hallway to break things up. But she said, I didn't touch her, she didn't touch me, so I didn't really think of it again, you know? Because if you don't know Cardi B, you should at least know that she's used to verbal altercations. I'm sure they don't stick with her. She was on Love and Hip Hop. And so then she just sort of goes about her life, and then she gets hit with this $24 million lawsuit. This whole thing, to me, just my opinion, but this whole thing feels like when that dude tried to sue Gwyneth Paltrow for millions. Remember that dude, Gwyneth Paltrow, if you weren't familiar with this, basically Gwyneth Paltrow went skiing one time, and then this other dude went skiing, and I don't know exactly how it went down, but I guess they bumped into each other at some point, and then the guy got up and he was like, wow, you're Gwyneth Paltrow. Oh, I'm ruined. No, because this is the thing. Coming after Cardi B seems like kind of easy in a lawsuit like this, just because she was on shows like Love and Hip Hop, and in Love and Hip Hop there's a lot of this. In Love and Hip Hop, whether you're watching Atlanta, Hollywood, New York, there's a lot of almost fights. You know what I mean? Usually it is stirred up by the producers. They get everybody nice and drunk, and then they're like, hey, you won't believe what she said. And then they always believe what she said. And so, you know, Cardi B's been known to pretty much never back down. In fact, there was this old case. I don't think anything ever came to it in like a court sense, but Cardi B was doing I think it was a festival, could have been a concert, and somebody threw something on stage. You know, somebody threw like a water bottle. And this has happened a lot in like the past. I don't know, people lost their minds through COVID and everything, and now people sometimes even film themselves throwing something on stage. I don't know if it's like to get a reaction out of the performer, and every performer has a different reaction to it. There are some people who, as soon as something gets thrown, they walk off stage, show's over, and they don't even try to continue. There are some people that try to dodge it, act like it didn't happen. There are some people that try to dodge it and then try to find the person who did it and get security to kick them out and everything. Well, basically there was a time where someone threw a water bottle at Cardi B, and I believe she dodged it, but she must have seen who did it, because she immediately threw the microphone at them. They probably thought Cardi B was gonna be some easy pickings. They were like, I'll throw my water bottle now. She's clearly unarmed. And can I just say, throwing a microphone at somebody is one of the funniest projectiles to throw. Because it's the only one where you get to hear their reaction to something being thrown at them in real time. Imagine Cardi B throw a microphone right back at them, and they're like, oh, is that a... Last thing the crowd hears before the show ends is, whoa, watch out! Even better if they turned around, they threw the water bottle, they're like, I think I got it! And so, well, they had this court case, and I don't know. Cardi B better than me. If I were me, I'd be losing my mind right now. $24 million for... that's what she's alleged. Like, the security guard is alleging $24 million. I don't even think I got $24 million worth of head. I think even if I was in a horrific accident, I'd probably only get like 10, maybe. And that's with half the head missing. $24 million just feels insane. And so, they go to court, and Cardi B's got a lawyer, security guards got a lawyer, and security guard's lawyer does seem bad at this. I don't know the law. I'm not a lawyer. I don't even know some of the stuff they're saying. When they get into like the real nitty gritty, like the weedsiness of the law, I don't know what's happening, right? All I know from all my hours of watching Law and Order is that if you're a lawyer and you're talking in court, you're talking, right? And then the other side keeps saying objection, and then the judge keeps saying sustain, you're not exactly doing well. And that's what's been happening this entire trial. The judge basically sustaining the whole thing. Like, this lawyer for the security guard keep withdrawing his own questions mid-question because he can feel a sustain coming. And like some of the questions don't have anything to do with anything. It's one thing if you're badgering the witness or you're really trying to like rile them up and get them to admit something, you try and catch them in a lie or something like that. It doesn't even feel like that's what's happening. This dude will just be asking questions that have nothing to do with anything or the case. It feels like he's just a Cardi B fan. The amount of times that Cardi B's lawyers have had to say objection, relevance is astounding. He's asking her all sorts of questions. At one point, though, he gets back on track and he asks Cardi B, you're saying that you felt threatened by my client. The security guard says, client, you saying you feel threatened by my client. I'm wondering why you feel so threatened. What was the issue? What was the issue? And then Cardi B says, I was pregnant and she's coming at me. I think she wants to beat me up and I'm pregnant. Hello? Hello? And then he goes, hello, hello. Hello, I'm here. And that's when it occurred to me that maybe what's happening is that this security guard's lawyer, maybe, just throwing it out there, potentially has never met a black person. I think if you've never met a black person in your life, and your first black person is Cardi B, that's a bit of a crash course. That would be like if I never met a white person in my life. Never met a white person, never talked to a white person, didn't even see one in a movie. Never met a white person. Then my first white person ever was Bill Nye the Science Guy. I think I might be walking away with some incorrect assumptions about white people. I think I go back home and tell all my friends and family, oh yeah, white people, they love space. No, they got a bunch of facts about turtles ready at the hip. Oh, and they love bow ties. Can't stop them from wearing a bow tie. The only time I've seen something like this exact moment, this type of thing, this like misunderstanding in that way, was on a TV show called To Catch a Predator. Okay. I don't know if you remember To Catch a Predator, but in case you never watched it, this was some insane reality TV. Basically, To Catch a Predator, they did just that. They would lure and then trap predators online who thought they were talking to underage kids, right? And they would have all these long conversations with them, and then they try to meet up with them. But when they tried to meet up with them, they would go to like the Sting house, right? And at this house, they would show up thinking they're meeting this underage person. Turns out they're meeting Chris Hansen. If you don't know Chris Hansen, you don't know Dateline. All you need to know about Chris Hansen was he was the To Catch a Predator. Oh, you would hate to see Chris Hansen coming if you were a predator. And so they would lure these predators to this house. And then especially season 1 was like no other thing. Season 1, when people didn't know what was happening, that was some of the wildest television I've ever seen. Because they didn't know who Chris Hansen was, all of them. Some of them did, right? But most of them did not. And so they'd show up to this house thinking that they're going to meet this underage kid. And they might even call out a name or something. Then Chris Hansen would walk in. Chris Hansen walk in holding some papers and everything. Now, because they don't know who Chris Hansen is, they think maybe this is the person's dad or something. So they immediately, they feel caught, but they don't know how caught they are. Right? So then Chris Hansen would walk in and be like, "Hi, how's it going?" And then he'd tell them to sit down, and they always sat down. Chris Hansen would sit them down, and then he'd ask them what they were doing here. And they'd try to come up with some sort of lie on the fly or something. And then he would ask them how they know this underage kid. And they'd try to come up with some lie on the fly, something like that. And then Chris Hansen would be like, "Oh, that's interesting because I have the transcripts of your conversation." And no matter what color they were, you watched the color leave their face. And then Chris Hansen would ask them what they meant by certain things in the transcript of the messages and stuff, and these people would just sink. They were just terrified, devastated, right? And then Chris Hansen would be like, "Okay, all right, you've answered all my questions. You can go." And even the predator would be like, "What? Really?" Like, yeah, you can go. You can go. And they'd be like, "Oh, okay. I mean, I thought my life was ruined or something. All right." And then they would get ready to walk out. And when they walked out, they were immediately tackled by the local police department.
And not just tackled, like properly football tackled. This would have been unnecessary roughness in the NFL. This is the only time nobody's gonna take you to task over police brutality. You know what I mean? Because the police, to their credit, they would announce themselves and say, "Get on the ground." They were just saying, "Get on the ground," when they were already airborne. Police would be in the air, legs up, "Get on the ground." It's like, you know your shoulder about to be in his neck. They would tackle him and they cuff him up and then they throw him in the car and they take him to jail. And then in jail, they would go to the interrogation room and they'd have to answer all of Chris Hansen's questions all over again. I guess him asking was just practice. And there was this one time where this guy comes in, and I don't remember what season it was, but this guy had a very interesting aesthetic. Like he was white, but he had a very like Vanilla Ice vibe to him. You know what I mean? And so he walked in, but when he walked in, he was like. Chris Hansen walked in, and then when Chris Hansen walked in and told him to sit down, he was like, "I." And then Chris Hansen does the thing that he does, asks him why he's there, asks him why he's been talking to this underage kid and everything. And then a thing I forgot to mention before that also happened in all the episodes was when Chris Hansen finally announced himself, where he was like, "I'm Chris Hansen with NBC's To Catch a Predator." Cameras would come out from all these different rooms, right? And it was always, without fail, too many cameras. It was always a number of cameras where I'm like, there's no way all those cameras on. There would be people with cameras in the hallway because they couldn't get in the kitchen, just lifting the camera up. Be way too many cameras. And so then the cameras roll in once Chris Hansen announces himself, and then this guy sitting there pulls down his cap a little bit and says to Chris Hansen and all of the cameramen, "I'm not really trying to be on TV, you feel me?" Repeats it. "I'm not really trying to be on TV, you feel me? You feel me? You feel me?" And Chris Hansen, without missing a beat, this man says, "I'm not really trying to be on TV, you feel me?" And Chris Hansen says, "Yes, we are filming." And I haven't seen such a misunderstanding until the security guard's lawyer says to Cardi B, hello? Yeah, I'm here. That man lucky. That man lucky. Cardi B at no point in her testimony hit him with a like that. That would have broken his brain. That would have ruined his life. He would have bent his knees. Oh! Everybody get out! What's happening? No. Because once again, this dude is wild. This dude is asking her questions about things that have nothing to do with anything. At one point, I think he's really in his head, he's having his like Perry Mason runaway jury moment. Like he's doing something right out of Law and Order in his head, because he gets his planted stance. He starts going in on Cardi B, and he says, today versus yesterday, all right? Yesterday, you had short black hair. Today, it's long blonde hair. 2 days ago, it was long black hair. Which is it? I don't know why he thought he had her. That was incredible. I don't know what I think he expected Cardi B to be like, I don't know. Oh no. What's happening? I thought he probably had some follow-up questions ready. It's like, if you're changing your hair, how do we know when you're not changing your story? All right? Miss Cardamom Basil. If that is your real name. And Cardi B just laughed it off. She was like, they're wigs. Like, what do you want me to do? And then, he gets into the stuff that's more relevant to the case, and he's trying to grill her back and forth with question after question after question. And he finally gets to this point where he's like, why did you feel threatened? She says the pregnancy thing and everything. But he's like, you said yourself that my client is about your height. Why would you be intimidated by her? And then Cardi B goes, yeah, I mean, she's a little bit taller than me, but she's bigger than me and everything. And I don't know what she wants to do. Now it seems like this person wants to beat me up. I don't know. Like, I don't know if they went from wanting a picture to beat me up or just wanted to beat me up and record. I don't know. I don't know what's happening, right? And so then this guy goes, why are you so intimidated by it? You're saying that she's bigger than you. What makes you say that? And then Cardi B goes, like, do I have to say it? No? And then he's like, are you calling my client fat? Are you calling my client fat? All right? Did you call her fat that day? In fact, you called her fat that day, didn't you? And then Cardi B is like, no, I was only calling her the B word. Like, it was really just that. I didn't really have time for anything else, you know? Sort of said that over and over again. Didn't really get to work in any other details. And this lawyer, I don't know, like it's like now what we're getting into is stuff that I guess isn't nice, but I don't know how it helps his case, because then he just keeps egging it on. He's like, but you said that, and you said other things, didn't you? You said other things. And then Cardi B, to her credit, it starts admitting everything that she said, right? She starts just repeating verbatim in court. She just cursing in court openly, just nonstop cursing in court, right? And he's like, is that what you said? Say exactly what you said. I mean, she's right here, right now. Say it again. Say it to her face. Say it again. And then even Cardi B is like, what is happening? Like, you want me to curse her out again? Like, is this one like a freebie or something? Like, I can't tell what's happening. No, it's like, no, you were so threatened. You were so completely threatened by my client. You know, what makes you so threatened? And then she's like, well, at the time I was pregnant and I was 130 pounds. All right. And then she was like twice my size. You know what I mean? And then once again, he gets on the same thing. He's like, are you calling my client fat? And she's like, no, I'm not saying. She just, you know. No, what? I don't know. What are you trying to say? Say it. Say what you want to say. There's no harm here. Say it. She's security heavy. That's so much worse. And this man keeps going. He's like, what do you mean security heavy? What are you trying to say? She's security heavy. What does that even mean? And Cardi B is like, you know, she built like she protect buildings. If it were me and I was Cardi B, I'd probably be sitting there furious. Cardi B better than me, you know? I'd probably be sitting there so angry. I'm just trying to live my life. I was trying to go to the doctor privately. My business is always out there. People get paid to get up in my business and everything. And I'm just trying to have a quiet moment. I'm not feeling well. I believe was her first child and everything. No one knows that she's pregnant. And then this whole thing blows up, and then she gets sued for $24 million. You know, she's better than me. I'd be sitting there furious at that lawyer. Huh? And if I was a security guard sitting there watching this happen, I'd be furious at that lawyer. What are you doing? You just getting me roasted in open court. This doesn't feel like it's getting me any closer to $24 million. Oh. Because I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm better than anybody, okay? If times get tough, if things get rough for me, I run into George Clooney. It's just me and George Clooney in the hallway. I know I haven't been able to pay my rent or anything. Is his word against mine? I'm gonna see George Clooney. I'm gonna put my hand on the ground. I'm just gonna. Look at what George Clooney did to me. Why would Ocean's 11's George Clooney do this? I thought he was a good man. I can't believe that Ocean 12's own George Clooney would step on my hand like this. What's that you say? He still owns the tequila company? Oh, oh no. Who would have thought Ocean's 13, George Clooney, would be capable of something like this? I thought he'd be president one day. Nah, easily. Easily. It doesn't have to be George Clooney. I don't even need, like, A-list. I really don't. If I see Neil deGrasse Tyson, times are tough, I run into Neil deGrasse Tyson, I'm throwing a bowling ball straight in the air and catching it with my head. I was like, oh no! I can't believe Neil deGrasse Tyson did one of Newton's laws of motion to me. I think it was the first one. No. Doesn't have any popular person will do, you know? If I see William H. Macy, I'm gonna run into a wall like that dude from the show Fargo. I'm gonna run right into. If I ever meet William H. Macy, he better pray we outside.
Because if she's trying to get money out of Cardi B, you know, this is not the way. She over here admitting that she only got nicked. Just a little. That quick. That. And she said that she had to have 2 plastic surgeries.
Even brought the plastic surgeon to court, and the plastic surgeon came into court with a picture, right? Now, the plastic surgeon, this is also why I feel like this case is bogus, because she doesn't have a picture of the scratch from the day that it happened. Her plastic surgeon had to come in and do a before and after picture, and honestly, I don't know if that dude, the plastic surgeon, I don't see what he did. Like, it's... Even when they tried to show the cut, like the little scar that Cardi B supposedly gave her, maybe they didn't zoom in enough. Like, I don't know but they had the little line pointing straight to it, and I'm squinting. It doesn't even look like Cardi B did $24 of damage.
Oh, you try and get money out of Cardi B. This is not the way to do it. All you got to do is make sure y'all are still alone. The other problem, and the reason this whole case feels fishy, is because her lawyers, and I suppose even her, didn't want the receptionist or the doctor that broke them up testifying. That seems suspicious. If I got $24 billion worth of damage done to me, I'd call everybody who was within earshot. You know what I mean? Oh, you heard me. You remember? I was like, oh no, $24 million just fell out of my face, right? So the fact that her lawyers didn't want those people testifying seems fishy. And then you kind of understand why. I don't know if she was a fully surprise witness or anything, but I know they were trying to block it for a long time. And so the receptionist finally sits down on the stand and testifies, right? And the security guard's lawyer is over here asking just all the relevant questions, right? And some of the questions are getting objected to and then sustained because they're a little leading. You know what I mean? Like he asked a question about how wasn't it my client's job to see fit who should and should not be in the building? And then obviously Cardi B's lawyers objected, because how is the receptionist for one office building in this entire building supposed to know all the ins and outs of the security guard's job, right? And they get to this moment where the receptionist comes out because she says that she heard a commotion, and she gets out there and Cardi B is up against a wall like this, like back up against the wall, and security guard is yelling in her face, right? And so then she, immediately upset by what she's seeing, gets in between the two of them and is breaking it up and tells the security guard, I don't know what's going on here, but you need to go back to your post. This is very unprofessional, everything. And everybody's screaming just so everybody can be heard, right? And the lawyer gets excited. He's like, and so do you think that this could be the moment that Cardi B scratched my client's face? And then the receptionist goes, actually, I'm really the only one that got hit out of the both of them. Like, you know, you try to be a good Samaritan, but... And not only does she say that she's like the only one that got hit between them, but she got a scratch on her face, a scratch that bled, and a scratch on her face that bled that came from the security guard. You could tell the lawyer's out here panicking. He's... Whoops. Okay. All right. And so then he starts, in my opinion at least, sort of like badgering her a little bit with questions to try to like double back from the fact that now it looks like the only person that may have assaulted someone is his client. And so he then says, he's like, yes, but you also weren't there the entire time, so you didn't witness the entire altercation. Maybe Cardi B spit on my client before you got there. Maybe she scratched her face before you got there, but you got there and you broke it up and you say that you didn't see anything. But maybe something happened before you got there. You don't know. You don't know. And then the receptionist was like, yeah, I guess I didn't know what it was like to be there till I was there. Yes, I suppose. You got me there. Because it's not just the scratch, I should point out. The scratch is the main thing, but the security guard is also, to my knowledge at least, alleging that Cardi B got her fired as well. You know? And then they had the doctor testify. And I won't say that the security guard's lawyers tried to poison the jury, because they were pushing a narrative the entire time. And the narrative was that obviously the receptionist and the doctor would back Cardi B because she was a client of theirs, a patient. So it benefits them to back up her story, right? And they even say as much while the two people are on the stand, you know? But then the receptionist says, no, actually, the security guard hit me up and said we should sue Cardi B. And I was like, nah, because you started it. Which is also not great for a security guard's lawyer. He's over here, okay, well, look, nothing further. And then they had the doctor testify. Now, the doctor was the last of the scene, so by the time he comes out, the receptionist is getting in between Cardi B and the security guard. So he said he was also very upset about what was happening, you know, and he was trying to make sure this thing got broken up. Now, the doctor said, look, what I saw wasn't just unprofessional, it was very concerning to me. And I got out there, and the only thing I could think to do was try to match the body language of the security guards. I don't even know what that means, but I imagine it means he ran up out there, he saw three people arguing, and he was like, hey! Cut that out! Because by his own account, it's not like he the one pulling people from people or anything. Receptionist has already broken it up and taken some punishment, and so... And then took Cardi B in, they had their appointment and everything, and then he was so disturbed by what happened and what he saw that he reached out to Superior for the security guard, and, you know, said that soon after that she was taken downstairs during a shift and like let go, right? And that also doesn't look great her case because she alleges that Cardi B got her fired, and now this dude in open court was like, no, it was me. It was me. It was me 100%.
And I guess I'm just coming from a place of like,
if you really wanted to sue Cardi B for $24 million, you don't wait until there's other people involved that are all going to have different accounts of what happened. If you wanted to sue Cardi B for $24 million, you just walk up to Cardi B before she gets in the elevator and say, hey, Cardi B, how you doing? And then throw yourself down some stairs.
that's going to be the easiest way to do it, you know? Throw yourself down some stairs, all the while screaming out Cardi B singles for every step that you hit. You finally hit that last step, you're like, oh, why would top charting artist Cardi B do this? Oh, she's really about that life. These are bloody shoes.
Okay, are you guys ready for your headliner for the night? You know him and love him from The Daily Show, so put your hands together for Josh Johnson!
I've been trying to listen to more music because I think that obviously it's important to read, it's important to talk to people, but I think music has a special place where you can learn something. Sometimes there's something that you can get from music that you just cannot get anywhere else. It doesn't hit the same through spoken word, doesn't hit the same way through prose, through like reading it, because I think whether it's melody or it's rhythm, there's something that you open yourself up to when there's music that you wouldn't if there wasn't. Like, it's a hard thing to explain sometimes, but there are little things that are written that stick with me. But then sometimes there's things that are just sung. And maybe it's just because of the way it's sung or something. I like that lyric. Let me think about that more. And then you chew on an idea, right? Music is incredibly powerful. Like, I think about back in Louisiana, I know somebody who, she divorced her husband with a singing telegram. Now, you can already imagine how different it hits to maybe be at a dinner and demand a divorce. I'm sick of this. I'm tired of you. I'm always putting up with the same stuff. I want a divorce. You know what I mean? Your server is like, so, no dessert. Or even if you just write someone a letter, they're sitting at home reading this letter in this unsealed envelope. They're just sitting there reading it like, What? But to have a singing telegram show up, knock on your door, be hitting the music, you know, little stereo, standing there. Beat starts, they're just, I am your singing telegram. And then they give you the worst news of your life. Dancing to it, too. She doesn't want to see you anymore. You become a bore. She wants a divorce. And putting his hand out for a tip. You know, music hits different. I think sometimes one of the most beautiful ways to remember somebody that you lost is through music. You know, sometimes, you know, you'll tell a story or something, and if the story doesn't hold a significance for a person, it just doesn't, they don't capture the thing that you captured when you talked to them or when the story happened. Maybe you had to be there, maybe you had to know the person. But when somebody leaves a song behind, that's like timeless in a way. We lost a very important person. Legendary person. We lost Quincy Jones, right? And if you don't know who Quincy Jones is, just Educate yourself. Yeah, I mean, Quincy Jones is not just a legend, an icon of culture, of music, but something deeper, like understood. Quincy understood people, understood music, understood storytelling, right? Quincy was one of the master collaborators. There were people that you love and you love their work and you don't know Quincy's in it. You know? Like that, it's that way with Michael Jackson. Quincy and Michael Jackson had major hits. Michael Jackson owed some of his biggest hits to his collaborations with Quincy Jones because Quincy could help pull out the best parts of the person that he was collaborating with. And there's even stories. There's legendary stories that Quincy Jones has told. More stories than I could ever even attempt to describe. Like crazy stuff. This man lived one of the most remarkable lives in American history. And there's stories that are so insane that Quincy's like not even in the story, but he's in the story. Like he's not even a part of the story, but the story came together because of Quincy. As an example, I heard this story. It's a little bit less than a rumor, but a part of me wants it to be true because it's fantastic. Quincy had daughters. Quincy's daughters were, one of them was Khadijah, and at one point Khadijah apparently was dating Tupac, right? And this still blows my mind. So Tupac, through potential collaborations that they were supposed to do, knows Michael Jackson, right? Michael Jackson obviously knows Quincy Jones from the hits that they made together and everything. But there's this one time when Tupac was leaving somewhere with Khadijah, like I don't know if it was like a dance club or something like that, but they were having an argument. And you know one of those arguments that you see where you're like, I don't know, is this bad? This is like, you know, like as a couple when you see them, and maybe it was that whisper fight, and you know that thing that couples do. It's like, I'm just. That's a big one at restaurants, you know. Oh yeah, you ever date somebody that could curse you out with those whispers? They hitting all the F's. Nobody hears, but. And you know, if you passing by, I don't know, is this a bad fight? Who knows? Or maybe they were having a screaming match. It doesn't seem like it because it seemed like kind of one-sided. Like Tupac was very annoyed with Khadijah trying to get her to come along and everything. And we've all been in a situation, if you've just been out, where you've seen a couple argue and you're like, is this bad? Do you know what I mean? Like you've been in a Walmart parking lot. Where you were like, is this just how they talk to each other? Or like, should I step in or something? Because this is uncomfortable, you know. And I'm not picking on Walmart. I've been to a Golden Corral and just waiting to be seated and you're like, all right, they about to eat together? That doesn't seem like a happy occasion. And so, you know, Tupac was saying something tantamount to like, come on, girl, hurry up, come on, right? But they're leaving as Michael Jackson is coming in, and Michael Jackson sees this. And so he approaches Tupac because of the closeness that he has with Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones' daughters are like Tupac's nieces to a certain degree. It's like that with any close friendship, you know? This is your uncle. Well, we're not related, but that's your uncle, right? And he says, hey, is everything okay? I don't like how you're talking to her. You need to chill out. You need to calm down, right? And then Tupac apparently says to Mike, hey, back up, all right? This is none of your business. Be about your way, all right? And then Michael's like, no, you don't understand. This is pretty much my niece. You're not going to talk to her any type of way, especially in public. You need to calm down, right? And then tells him again, you need to back up. You need to back off, right? And then according to the story, Michael Jackson beat Tupac's ass. I know how it sounds. But this is my thing. When I look at Tupac, I look at Michael Jackson, I can't help but wonder if the two of them, in a way, are like the inverse of each other. You know? Because we've seen from footage of this person that Tupac is, right? This incredibly adept poet, this person who pulls the tenderness out of horrific things and expresses that tenderness back through music or just through written word. That type of poet, that person is in some ways a sensitive person, like a sensitive soul. Maybe not soft, maybe not, but there's someone who clearly has a sensitive side that they can access. And I think that a lot of like thug life, a lot of the street stuff, some of that is to sell records. Some of that he was really living. But you can't help but wonder how much of this persona is a persona to sell, to market, and how much of this is actually him. Because what if, when no one's around, behind closed doors, when you're just chilling, this guy is a sweetheart, sensitive person. It's what's been said about him through people who knew him. And you look at Michael Jackson. We know Michael Jackson was abused horribly. Joe Jackson beat those kids. And you go through your life like that with abuse, it can harden a person. And maybe behind closed doors, when no one was around, maybe Mike was like a little bit more hardened than we'd like to believe. So imagine that. You're fighting Michael Jackson. It's gotta be upsetting. I can't imagine trying to fight Michael Jackson, the king of pop. I can't imagine him fighting without doing moves for no reason. Imagine trying to fight Michael Jackson and he punch you, but he moving his leg. The leg not involved in the punch. You have the king of pop, right? And you have Tupac. Tupac is on the Everest of hip hop, right? Tupac, for better or for worse, created an entire lane of hip hop that people went down and either created some of the best artistry that I think personally has been known to man musically, and then some people who leaned into the street side a little too much and it just became something destructive. But Tupac is up there. And Tupac is who you would imagine would be beating on anybody, right? I'm not saying Tupac couldn't fight. All I will say is that the one fight that I saw Tupac in is the one that we can all see him in. It's the night that he was fighting with those dudes in Vegas. A bunch of guys. Guys on his side, guys on the other side, everybody getting beat. I'm not saying Tupac couldn't fight. I'm saying the way that I saw him fighting in that video looked like the way all of us might try to double dutch. Do you know what I mean? Because there was a big cartoonish scuffle, just feet in the air, fists out of the... You know what I mean? Just like with those Looney Tunes smoke clouds of fights and everything, and Tupac was outside of it, and you could tell he was trying to find his place. He was like... And now, you're fighting Michael Jackson. Someone so horrifically coordinated. He hitting you and then pop it and lock it. Doing all these extra moves and stuff. Michael Jackson probably the only person in human history that could be beating somebody's ass and sound like he getting beat at the same time. Just, he punching you, kicking you, and then he the one be like, ow! Be mad as hell. You trying to fight Michael Jackson. You trying to swing on him and everything. And every time you think you really got a good one, you planned it out, the fist is gonna go in his face and I'm swinging with all your might. And then he just doing these dumbass leans. It's gotta be terrifying. Trying to fight Michael Jackson, he got enough cardio to dance for 3 concerts. And he thin too, so he hard to hit, he moving off. You swinging at him, he's saying stuff to you, words that don't make any sense. I got shit. What am I supposed to do? Whispering to you. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, especially if you have a fondness for a person, there's at least rumor that there are these tracks that got scrapped between Michael Jackson and Tupac. They were supposed to be on some songs together, right? So it's not as if they didn't know each other. And now imagine, you know this person, and you don't want to hurt them. They were talking disrespectfully to someone else that you love, and maybe they pushed you first, and now you're fighting, and then, you hit them, and you hit them hard. You hit him real good. Now Tupac bent over and everything. God. Michael Jackson, he didn't even want to say it, but he's like, "Are you okay?" The way I imagine it, Tupac gathered himself and was like, "No, I'm not done. I can't go out like this." And he was written back in, swinging at him and everything. And then Michael Jackson went to kicking. And that, even when Michael Jackson was dancing, he wouldn't kick normal. He was never just like doing a kick. It was always like his leg was gonna come off. The whole kick. And now you stand there, you've been kicked 17 times, you still standing up, got all these footprints on you, like you got run over at a marathon or something. Your friends roll up to you, and now you gotta be like, It was 6 of them. They came out of nowhere. They all had the same shoe on. Oh, this is brutal. You know what I mean? Imagine you fighting somebody you respect, too. You gotta fight one of your heroes. It's unnerving. Beating you up. Fixing his hat for no reason. Because hearing about this fight, hearing about this rumor, reminded me of a different rumor that I heard about Michael Jackson. Something that, I don't know. I mean, it's you can take it or leave it. I don't know. It's something that I believed for a little while because of who was saying it. But basically, Michael Jackson had such a passion for the specific art that he was doing. Not just the music, not just the spectacle, but just the whole thing. So much so that he would let it spill off stage. And all of it became a persona. All of it became a presentation, performance, almost all the time. And one of the ways that it presented itself was not just in how he dressed and how he looked and stuff, but also how he spoke. Because there's an idea that if you can be meek enough, if you could be gentle enough, if you could be soft-spoken enough, that people's perceptions of you will almost pass past you and just see the music. If you're not this big, larger-than-life character, if you're not getting in trouble all the time, maybe if people can just see me as this, like, the same kid that they fell in love with, now just making bigger and better things, maybe they'll love the bigger and better things I have to make, right? And so there's a rumor from a few different people who knew Mike well, who would chill with him, sometimes just out by themselves when there was no risk of being seen by the public. And they said that voice, the voice that we know as Michael Jackson, the voice that's been, imitated over decades, was not his voice. That's what they said, that if you were hanging out with Michael Jackson, you just chilling with him at his time, he actually had a way more like level register than that, which is something that shocked me, because I was like, wow, imagine putting that much into a performance, that it's like off stage and it's everywhere, and it's everyone that you meet, you're shaking hands with people, you're meeting people, and that's still not quite you. You're still putting it on a little bit, right? But now imagine you're fighting Michael Jackson. And not only is he beating your ass, but every once in a while he's like, "Come here, bitch!" Like, that's gotta be maybe the most shocking part. I don't know what I would do. You're fighting Michael Jackson, and he's making 3 different noises at the same time. He got a low one, he got a high one. He's saying weird stuff. Not only do you have to fight Michael Jackson, you got to fight a possessed version of Michael Jackson, I'm assuming, because you've never heard him talk like this. No. That's one of the funniest images I have in my head is Michael Jackson punching you in your forehead and they'd be like, what's up, nigga? Like, that's... No, what's really hood, dog? What's really... Imagine, and you're Tupac, you're getting beat, presumably in front of some people, by Michael Jackson. At a certain point, you gotta be like, guys, somebody must have a gun. Shoot this man. Even if you try to shoot him, Michael Jackson probably like catching the bullets. Well, maybe he knocks you down. You laying on the ground. You ever seen somebody get beat? I know I'm digressing to digress, but like this, you ever see somebody get beat up real bad and all of a sudden it's almost like they have a cold or something because they start coughing? You know, it's like they get punched a couple times, they're like, and then Michael Jackson rolls you over with his foot, you know. Walks around you all disrespectful, just fixing his belt and stuff. He's standing over you. You don't know what's about to happen next. You don't know if he's gonna curb dance you or... You're waiting for him. Is Michael Jackson gonna kill me? And he's looking down at you. Maybe you even try to get up one more time. Maybe you got a little fight left. I can't go out like this. I have thug life tattooed on me. You give it all you got. You swinging at Michael Jackson. You kicking at him and stuff. And you got to worry about extra. You got to worry about like extra things with Mike. You know, you got to worry about his kicks, his punches. You also got to worry about his pelvis. He also moving that all weird and stuff. Imagine somebody punching at you and then just... I don't know what to do with that. It's very upsetting. Michael Jackson punches you down to the ground again. You hit the ground. You're like, this is it. He's going to kill me. And he's standing over you, towering over you. When you're waiting for him to hit you with that death blow, he just goes... I don't know. It probably didn't happen, but it's fun to dream. I don't know if y'all saw what's been going on in the House of Representatives, but they they had it out. Ooh, that was better than Real Housewives. I'm not gonna lie. That was pretty good. Okay, in case you didn't see what happened, basically, they were having a committee hearing, and I don't really know how they work. They use certain rules of order where they're like point of order, you know, and there's like this moderator that doesn't do his job and stuff. And basically, Representative, I think her name was Jasmine Crockett, said to Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's like, do you know what we're talking about right now? Do you know what we're here for? And then Marjorie Taylor Greene said, I do know what we're here for. Do you know what we're here for? Because those fake eyelashes might be messing up your reading. And immediately, everyone had a reaction, and AOC was the one to be like, hey, can we strike this from the record? You can't do this. Like, this is crazy. You're not supposed to engage in personal attacks on appearance or personality during a hearing. Like, you have to have some form of order, right? And then the person that runs the committee that doesn't do his job was just sort of ignoring her. So then, they let it go. But before that, Marjorie Taylor turns to AOC and she's like, did I hurt your feelings or something? And then AOC said, girl, no. Baby girl, no. In case you aren't familiar, all right, a girl followed by a baby girl is equivalent to showing a Glock. I've never had a woman tell another woman in front of me, girl, baby girl, without something happening next. That's because it's such gentle language. Because it's two women talking to each other. So girl implies like my girl, hey girl, you know what I mean? Girl, and then baby girl. Baby girl is smaller than girl. Baby girl comes from an even gentler place, but is somehow much more violent. Baby girl. I'll put it this way. Girl is hair. Girl is, snatching up someone by their hair. Baby girl is choke. Baby girl is hands around the throat. One hand is baby, the other is girl. Baby girl. Whew. And then later, Representative Jasmine just asked the leader, the one who doesn't do his job. She was like, hey, I just want to check, just so I know the rules. I want to check if I were to say something about somebody's beach, blonde, bad built, botched body. And to be fair, look, I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what she said, because some people are like bad beach blonde, bad built butch body, or beach blonde, bad built botched body. Either way, it's a bop. Either way. It's and that was like kind of off the dome. That was incredible. That was one of those things where I was reading it. I've never read like a news magazine before and been like, beach blonde, bad built butch body. Man, get Metro Boomin on that one. That's crazy. So I don't know exactly what she said, but she was like, if I were to mention somebody's beach blonde, bad built, botched body, would that be engaging in personality attacks? And then a bunch of people on the Republican side made the same noise as the Democratic side before. And then they were like, this is not the time, blah, blah. And then Jasmine was like, no. Because y'all love to dish it out, but you can't take it. And then the article ended. And I was like, that's the problem with journalism today. That's what... Now I gotta go watch C-SPAN to see how it ended. I feel like one of the main things that I miss from being a kid is ooh. Do y'all remember ooh? Do y'all remember like ooh? What an incredible experience. Ooh is beautiful. You know what's so beautiful about it? It's one of those like communal experiences. No one teaches you how to do ooh when you're a kid. You know what I mean? No one sits you down and be like, and sometimes you're gonna want to clap, and sometimes you're gonna be like, ooh. Like, no, your parents never give you a talk like that. You just are a kid, and then maybe you're talking in class, everybody's talking in class, and then the teacher gets frustrated, turns around, points out one kid and goes, Mr. Perkins, and then all the kids go, ooh. It's beautiful. It's almost like a religious experience that you're having outside of church, you know what I mean? Everybody knew to do it at the same time. Like starting a good slow clap. When a real slow clap happens, you're like, wow, we really did it, y'all. Ooh is beautiful. And then as you get older, ooh starts to go away a little bit. You know, because we all have different experiences. When you're a kid, most kids have the same general big fears, right? Getting called out in the middle of class, getting embarrassed, something happening, somebody. But as you get older, everything starts to splinter off. Everything goes in different directions, and so one person's ooh is another person's nothing, right? It's very hard as an adult to have an ooh experience, so I treasure them now when I have them. It's beautiful. Like I was walking down the street one day, and I was passing this bar, and there was a woman yelling at her boyfriend to the point that a crowd had gathered. Like it was really felt like a street performance, the way that she was taking him to task. And she was like, I had 1 day off, JR. I had 1 day off and you ruined it. And he's like, I'm sorry. No, sorry's not enough. This has happened so many times. I have 1 day off, JR, and you ruined it. And then out of nowhere, she just swung and slapped him, right? Slapped him from everybody, and everybody was like, oh. And just like that, I was like, wow, I'm back in it. This is incredible. I went to a friend's wedding a while back, and the thing that was amazing to me about this wedding is just how personal it was, right? So it was a smaller wedding, so it wasn't like a huge room or anything, and the groom got his best friend to officiate the wedding, right? And I think that's kind of cool. You know, some people want someone, like if they have it at a church, they want like their pastor to do it, like, but just someone that makes it special, right? And then the couple, they wrote their own vows, which I also thought was pretty cool because it was very specific stuff to them that was like cute and was funny and stuff like that. And you can tell that the friend officiating was nervous because he was holding the mic, but it was like shaking in his hand, everything. It was all very, very sweet, right? And then it got that time to, you know, say like, do you take, and everything. And then, you know, Buddy looks at the groom and says, do you take Ashley to be your lawfully wedded wife? But Ashley was the groom's ex's name. Doesn't it just feel good to just let it out? Oh. You know, admittedly, I don't know much about dating, but I do know white people. And the weather has a real effect on y'all. It's a nice day out, and every person I made eye contact with has told me. Y'all saw the sunlight today. You were delighted. I was outside, and somebody walked up to me outside and was like, what a day. You know, and maybe it's just the New Yorker, but I was like, nah, I know, it's very good. They were like, nah, this is great. And in my head, I'm like, does it rain every other day or something? Good to know. No, I was happy for everyone. Everybody was having such a good time. You know, it's like the weather today felt like when your friend wants you to see a movie really bad, and then they watch it with you, but they watching you watch the movie to make sure you're enjoying it as much as. But then you're like, but I see it, and they're like, no, but are you paying attention? It's like, you not paying attention, you looking at me. Wow. There were a couple people I was concerned about. You know what I mean? Because there were a couple people. I was at the hotel, you know, I was chilling with Logan. We were about to go get something to eat. And there was one guy that was so happy, he got upset. You know what I mean? Like we saw him, you know, past him on the way out of the elevator. He's like, it's a really nice day. I was like, oh, buddy, it sounds like you needed this one. This was... It sounded like one more day of rain, something was going to happen, all right? I can see that same dude looking out the window. If I see another drop of rain, everybody dying. Then the clouds broke and he was like, yes, yes, yes. Because I was enjoying the weather too. I just didn't feel like I was doing a good enough job. Okay, you know, like when you go to like Six Flags or something and you having fun, but your friend is having the best time ever, to where you're like, I don't think we at the same place. You know, like y'all both walking up to the line for the Batman ride. And I guess it's just perspective. I guess it's just that when I walk up to the line, I see how long the line is. I'm like, oh, we gonna be standing here for 45 minutes. But he's looking up at the ride like, Batman. I'm like, yeah, buddy, yeah. Yeah, Batman, and we'll be there in 45 minutes. Oh. I had a realization that I'm getting older now, and as a man, like as a grown man, I'm actually too old now to get kidnapped. Like if I got snatched on the street and then they held me for ransom, as a man, you'd be like, nah, I live with y'all now. Like I can't. You can't send me back. That's too embarrassing. I just got snatched up like I was waiting for my mom after school. Y'all got me. We good. I'm part of the gang now. Don't. Yeah, send me back. Imagine. There's actually a statistic that nobody talks about. Thousands. I'm telling you, thousands of men go missing every year. We don't look, but thousands of men go missing. And I think it was 2021 where men going missing outpaced women going missing, right? And it's like an insane stat. When I was reading it, I didn't believe it. I was like, how is that possible? But I think it's because men know when they get snatched up, they're like, bro, just kill me. Because I can't go back now. Imagine you a grown man with a family, right? You a grown man with children, and you got kidnapped, and then you come home and try to be the patriarch of your family, knowing you were a kidnapped man. You know what I mean? Knowing you a diet man, knowing you light. Standing there over your kid, telling him not to talk to strangers, and then your 8-year-old go, well, Dad, between the two of us, I'm not the one that's been snatched up before. I'm not the one that's walking around irresponsibly.